Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome to After Hours Conversations for Music Educators. We're excited to have you joining us tonight, and we've got some great conversations lined up. I look forward to introducing our guest speaker here in just a few minutes. But before I do, I just want to go through a couple of housekeeping items with everybody. First up, if you have any questions tonight, just a reminder that we do not keep an eye on the chat field, so be sure to put them over in the Q&A box for us, the Q&A. We've actually got Kevin joining us from Hal Leonard, and he's on hand just to answer any questions that you might have. So again, if you've got any questions, just put them in that Q&A box, and Kevin's on hand to help out with that. After tonight's webinar, we're going to post everything on our new website, amromusic.com/after hours. So again, we're not going to be doing follow-up emails. Instead, you'll be able to find all of the recordings, all of the professional development letters, and any other resources that we discussed tonight posted on our website. Again, that's amromusic.com/after hours. We have a double header this week. We've got another great conversation lined up for tomorrow at 5 p.m. Central Time, and it's going to be all about marching band. We've got 4 panelists lined up, and they're going to be sharing their experiences in hosting their own marching band camps. All of our guest panelists have all already completed or are in the process of completing their camp, and we're going to be talking about social distancing, logistics, student safety, and what they did in order to host a marching band camp in the COVID era. So registration link can be found on the Amro Music Facebook page. And lastly, don't forget you can download and listen to all of our After Hours podcasts now on Google Play, Apple iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. So that's all of the housekeeping items that I've got tonight. I look forward to introducing Mr. Steve Smith. Welcome. We're excited to have you on. How are you, Steve?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Man, we're excited to have you on. So before we dive in, let's just talk a little bit about yourself. Of course, you're the product manager for Essential Elements Interactive, but you've got a rich history as a musician and an educator. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm actually a Texan, I guess, by moving there when I was young, and grew up in Texas and went to the University of North Texas for my undergrad, and then I taught in Texas middle school band in the Louisville Independent School District, which is just north of the Dallas, Fort Worth area. And worked there at a couple of different middle schools, taught for about 12 years, taught in a really great district, really great cluster. We actually were fortunate enough to be able to bring a group to the Midwest Clinic back in 2005. That was a terrific event, and just enjoyed doing that. Then I went back and got my master's degree at North Texas, and during that time, I started working with Hal Leonard and kind of talking about some of the stuff that we are doing now currently with Hal Leonard. And it was allowed me to kind of come up there and move my entire family actually from Texas to Wisconsin. I always joke that Wisconsin is exactly like Texas. It is the slightly different weather. I had one visit back home to Texas where the temperature change was 140 degrees.
Whoa.
From Wisconsin to Texas. So, anyway, enjoyed doing that. I should mention during my time teaching, I also got to teach several drum and bugle corps. So I taught with the Madison Scouts, taught with the Santa Clara Vanguard, and several of those. So I hear your marching band, discussion coming tomorrow brings back some memories and fond memories of those marching days, which I'm sure is a whole different can of worms nowadays. So, anyway, so I'm happy to be here working with Hal Leonard for about 8 years now and diving fully into the Essential Elements Interactive, which we'll talk about here today.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks so much. So you've worn many hats, still wear them, but one I didn't hear you mention was one of band parent. You've also got a different perspective here. You're going through this as a band parent now.
I do, and I have a kid who's going into 6th grade. He played trumpet last year in 5th grade, and it is different being on that side of things, kind of seeing how things take shape. You can't give your kid a grade, so he doesn't necessarily do everything that you necessarily want him to do. But he does listen to his teachers almost more than me. It was kind of it was a tough pill to swallow for a bit, but I was glad he did. He listened to his teachers. But no, it's been good to see him. He actually did both trumpet and cello this last.
Right.
So he's going to do plus piano and the other things that 11-year-old boys do. But yeah, it's been a good thing to kind of watch that, especially through this last little time with the online learning. And I just got to say, just so impressed with his teachers and with not only his classroom teachers, but his band and his orchestra teachers as well, and what they did during that time, which we'll talk a little bit about how they did that and some stuff that they used here. But and to all the teachers that are out there, I know what you guys just went through, and thanks so much for everything that you did this last spring and are going to do. I know it was a crazy time, but just know that you are appreciated, not only just from a Hal Leonard standpoint, but from a parent standpoint. You guys were so valuable to us and to our students. So, if you haven't been thanked for what you've done, please accept my thanks and everyone's thanks, because what you're doing is so important, and I know you're doing great jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. Amen to that. Well, one of the things that I know you really wanted to talk about, so I want to dive in, and that's making meaningful connections with students, genuine connections. And I know that's something that we're all learning how to do over the internet. And you've got some thoughts and some ideas on that and some of the ways that Essential Elements will allow students and teachers to do that. So I'm going to turn the platform over to you and let you share some of the content and the information that you've got lined up for us, Steve.
Absolutely. I'm going to share my screen, kind of dive in here. And so you get a thumbs up that you're seeing the screen. Excellent. Yeah. So, like I said, you guys are all, you dove into this last spring and had a lot of different things that you did from a technology standpoint, and some of it was kind of pushed on you just because of the situation. Some of you may be using Essential Elements, you may be using Essential Elements Interactive, but we want to kind of talk about how to use that technology, not just to send an assignment out or just to just to check off a box and reach your kids, but to genuinely connect with them. And so we're going to kind of talk through this, just to kind of set the table a little bit, just so you know that Essential Elements Interactive is, it's a website. It's available anywhere, anytime, any device. We do have an Android app. We have an iOS app. Anywhere they can get to the internet, they can get to that. If you have, the books 1, 2, and 3, band or strings, I'm not sure if we have strings people here, but band or strings, this comes with it. So if you're looking for an online option that a hybrid or allow you to kind of get in there, and you haven't looked at EEI, if you're using Essential Elements, you already have access to this. You don't have to pay anything for it. It's included with the teacher book. Students get an account as well. So, it's just one of those things that we're going to kind of work through how you can use this on a number of levels. And just another little thing is we have Essential Elements Interactive blog, or eeiblog.com. There are a lot of tutorials and ideas and classroom ideas on there as well. And just some easy ways for you to kind of be able to incorporate EEI into your classroom. See a quick question there, by the way, about EE Jazz. We have a couple of EE Jazz books that are out, actually, by the way. There's a book too that just came out. But we do have plans to put the jazz in there. It's not in there at the moment, but that's something that is on our list. So thanks for that. Thanks for that question. So, some of you might feel like these people, especially this last spring. You might feel like you want to be the person on the right helping kids spin the plate, but a lot of times with this, we tend to feel alone. We tend to feel like that person on the left, where you're the one by yourself. You're doing all of this on your own. And, you may have had sometimes this past few times that you just really didn't have things go quite as planned. And, and the other thing you might have even had some times where you were very frustrated. But we all have that. And kind of the mark of a really good teacher is you can kind of work through that, and we'll talk about some of this in a little bit. But what we want to really focus on today are those things that were successful, things that were really positive. Everybody had those that worked. By the way, I consider that to be like my Justin Timberlake emoji. I don't really think I look like that, but that's the best I could do on my phone. So, by the way, if you haven't created an emoji, using those when you teach is like, you just need to really dive into that. Kids love seeing that kind of stuff, especially if it looks as not real as that does. But so we want to talk about those things that really went well for you. The saying, necessity is the mother of invention. This last spring, we were thrown into things, and I'm sure, like me, I'm sure you found some things that actually worked really well, possibly even better. Nick and I are actually just talking about Zoom as just an example of this. And that before this, I think people may have done Zoom every now and then, but now Zoom is just this staple. And some people even prefer Zoom over an actual phone call. And these type of clinics and stuff are available now too. I know us as a company, we've actually even gotten better. We've allowed us to work from home, and there's so many things that are actually going to be a positive of this. So that's what we want to focus on. There is a lot of drawbacks to all this, but we really want to focus on the things that really help us. So diving into this, things that you want to really help with your kids. Kind of, we're going to break it down to three different areas today: stability, engagement, and then experiment or experimentation. And the key to all this is you want to try to strive for each of these on a weekly basis. If you're teaching live, obviously, if you're teaching in person, you have ability to do that. For the online learning, sometimes it can be a little bit more challenging to connect on a regular basis. So I'm just going to set the table from the standpoint from Essential Elements Interact, because I think sometimes people don't understand all of the things that EEI actually can do. And here's a brief overview, and then we're going to kind of dive into a lot of these things. But obviously, you've got music from the book. Sorry, that kind of shot through there. Music from the book. You get play along accompaniments. You got EEI resources. You've got a lot of different options in here. And then you also have the ability to upload and share your own PDFs. I think some people don't realize that you can do that. You can share videos with your students. You can share links. EEI recordings, I mean, you can have them record music from the book. You can also have them record music that's not a part of the book and send in assignments as well. We have self-assessment, and we have different ways to provide feedback. So there's a lot of things. And the nice thing about this is that all of this is in one place. Sometimes you get kids that are pinging all over the place, trying to go to different sites. I watched my own son, actually, he's doing summer orchestra. And he was trying to, he's trying to play a piece, and he wasn't sounding great. And then I realized he was trying to play the violin music. And it was because the teacher, who was doing a great job, God bless her, but she sent all of the music on a link, and he had to sift through everything and try to find the one piece of music, and he just couldn't find it. So he just pulled up the violin music. So he's playing cello, but he's playing the violin, and it was kind of a disconnect. So EEI is going to allow you to kind of connect with students to them and really be specific for those people and kind of help all of that. So it's not just a matter of doing this with one instrument. Let me get my presentation going here again. There we go. So stability is going to allow you to have some normalcy. You're going to have a lot of things. And as you start this technology thing, at the beginning of the year, it's good to start it simple and then allow it to grow. So for example, this is some of the things that your kids are going to need. They're going to need direction from you. Parents are going to need that direction as well, especially if all of a sudden, if you find yourself in that remote teaching situation, or honestly, even if you're not in that remote teaching, parents can really benefit from you communicating, here's where we are, here's what we're doing. And you're going to have parents that are going to help their kids through you. So students need to play regularly. I had one colleague, a friend of mine, whose son was at home, and he actually said his son learned how to practice better over the last 3 months because he was at home. It was an individual type of thing. So he really thought his son got better at practicing, and as a result was a much better player. And they're going to need and want your guidance. So when if you don't see them on a regular basis, they're going to want to see you. They're going to want to still work with you, and they can still get better, even though it's a little bit disjunct and you may not see them. You can still work with them, and they can still improve. And it's a super important thing to remember. So there might be a lot of new things from time to time, but you want to really keep as much of it the same as possible. You're just going to kind of take yourself and take your class and put it online. So here's an example for example, here's a weekly assignment sheet that I made when I taught back a long time. And I would give this to the students every week. And so through here, you can kind of see, this is what we did. Just kind of gave them an idea of what we were doing during the week, so that, they knew that we had a plan. It allowed me to keep the plan in place. And it also, if it gave them kind of a way to look ahead or see where we were the day before. For EEI, you could actually do this through Essential Elements Interactive. You can create recording assignments. And in this case, you could, if you wanted to, at the very beginning of the year, just create assignments for the kids to do. Not even necessarily to turn in, but just here's a list. When they get into their assignment, this is the dashboard. This is what a student sees when they log in. You want them to do breathing exercises? It's right there in front of them. You want them to do rhythm counting, section study, whatever you have that you want them to do, you can put that right there and make sure that they see that in front of them, so that when they get there, they are practicing what you want them to practice. So it's a way to kind of extend and reach them, and try to really make sure that they understand how to practice. So let's see, I got there's a question on there about how to get kids to sign up for the class. I'm gonna touch on that here in a little bit, and also give you a link to a way for them to do that. We'll talk about that as we go a little bit further. So just again, with this, you want to help establish their practice habits, and making assignments and doing things like that is actually very simple in EEI, and you can send it to in a lot of different ways. So we'll talk about that. But when they're making assignments, it's really simple to type in an assignment name, and you can select, 6th grade flutes or 7th grade clarinets. It's one of the secrets of EEI is that you can easily send out things that go directly to students based on their grade, based on their instrument, based on their class that they're a part of. You can really set that. It's all predefined because they have signed in, and they have created an account that's connected to their book, to their instrument. So it is one of those things where it really allows you to connect to them specifically for their instrument. And like I said, with my son, who, he loves orchestra. Orchestra is actually his favorite class. And he got in there, and he really wanted to play the music they're playing, but he had a hard time finding it. When you share assignments and you share resources and things like that, all of that's going to go directly to the kid based on their instrument and their grade. So they're going to see what they need to see. Now, something else, this is another way you can kind of do this. So I took, this is actually a sheet that we used when I taught. I kind of updated it. And again, there's my emoji there again. But if you create PDFs, you can share those PDFs with students. So this one, and by the way, this is a PDF. I'm gonna have a few PDFs that I'm gonna send Nick to put up on the website. Just a few resources, PDFs, things that you guys can use from this session. But this will be one of them. This is just a way to send this to home and talk about what a great practice session is. So for example, for me, I wanted the kids to work on their sound. I wanted them to play the assignment from the teacher, and I wanted them to record and re-record to get better. And then I wanted them to play a new song, try something new, and I wanted them to play a song for fun. And then for bonus, they perform for somebody, parents, friends, grandparents, etc. So this is just a way to show a parent, for example, or let the kid know, here's the expectation for when you practice. This is a great practice session. And then I came in here again, and I just broke it down even more. Here's some things that you could do. And even put a little bit of time on there. Now, I wasn't big on, like, if you've practiced 30 minutes, you've done your time. But I did want them to know that if you're doing tone exercises, it should take you 2 to 3, 4, 5 minutes to work on your sound. It should take you 5 to 10 minutes to work on your music. I wanted them to understand that. And then, so this is just a sheet. You can kind of, if you have a way of doing this, I encourage you to make something like this that fits you. To try and let the kids know what you expect from them in a practice session in a positive way. And again, like I chose the Star Wars font at the top, and I put my little thumbs up guy there. Just things to kind of make it more personal, make it less like just a written assignment type of thing. But in EEI, what you can do is, again, you can put this in the resource section. We're now looking at the resources section, and you can see right in there that we have that practice sheet, and this is a PDF, and I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna select that PDF that I just did. There's that same piece of paper. It's a PDF that's gonna go to the students. And then I'm gonna come back here, and I'm gonna show as a brass practice sheet. I'm gonna click share, and then I'm just gonna get in here, and I'm going to share it with just the brass players. So I'm gonna come down. It's very easy to get in there and to do trumpet, horn, trombone, and I think I come down to, all baritone, tuba. I didn't have any treble clef baritones. And there it is. I can see. Now I know that sheet, which is specific for brass, is going to go to all the brass players. And I went and I shared that, and now that's out there. That's how easy it is to share music and to share resources with students. So you can create your own resources. You can add those resources. And again, the more you can get them to the students and be real specific, the better. So, so some of the things that the students need to play and enjoy. They need to be able to enjoy the accompaniments and the play-alongs and record themselves, and it can do YouTube videos. There's a lot of different ways that you can connect to the students, and we're going to talk about that as well here in a second. A couple of questions. We talked about EEI assignments to Google Classroom. We are working on connecting EEI and Google Classroom. Not there yet, but we're hoping to be there very soon, hopefully by the beginning of the school year, if not during the school year. And then the other question there, can students set up their own account and join the class? Yes. So they can actually create their account with their book, and then there's a school code that they're going to type in, and it'll join your class. We've actually allowed you to get students into your class without you actually even having to do any data entry. So both of those, I'm going to have some links that are going to be up there. So that will allow you to kind of see some of that. So that'll be in some of our materials a little bit later. So from a stability standpoint, so we've talked about the resources a little bit. We're going to come back to the resources in a second as well. But the music studio is another place for the kids when they go home and they practice. They are going to, we want to get them engaged in the music. We want to get them to enjoy playing the music. And the music studio provides a couple different ways to do that. First of all, again, we had one of the situations we had this last spring is we had a lot of teachers who said, my kids, we closed and we went home and there's kids that forgot their books. And we were able to get them, we use EE, but they don't have their books in front of them. EEI gave them the music on screen right there for them to use. So we have a lot of different things in the music studio that will help with this. So the music's on screen. We have a lot of playback and record features we'll talk about, several different practice tools, tempo control, things of that nature. The biggest thing is for them to be able to record right through the website or through the app so that they can really listen to themselves and really get better. And we'll talk about how to kind of utilize that here in just a second. One of the things that some people may not know about EEI is that we do have multiple styles of accompaniment tracks for each exercise. So whereas the old CD, you had one style of background track per exercise, this is the internet, so we can kind of make it whatever we want to. So we have multiple styles for every time, which allows us to get to a lot of different styles in a short amount of time. So here's a little bit of a preview. So there's the drop-down menu. This is the music studio kind of in action here. So you see there the drop-down menu with multiple accompaniments for each exercise. None, metronome, and piano are going to be the default on most of them. And then the next 5 kind of change. So if you have none, melody action, I'm hearing a professional clarinet player. That's the principal clarinet player for the Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra. Got a metronome. You get a great sound, and then a simple piano background. And then we kind of mix it up. We start adding a lot of different background tracks in here. You can also easily take the melody out, just by clicking the melody button, toggle so the idea here is that the kids are going to start practicing these multiple. If they go through every one of these, they're going to have played the exercise 7 or 8 times. And we do have teachers who say that the kids who are using this, they always have their favorite. They start asking the teacher to kind of come back and get to their favorites. So the teachers starting to have to ask them to play these over. We're going to have to put so that's just kind of a way for the kids to continue to engage with the play along aspect of the music studio in a variety of ways. So it's helpful in several different ways to do this. So in engaging this, so we want to make sure that we're engaging. So kids can go home and they can practice that, and hopefully that allows them to practice the music in a little bit different way and a little more fun way. But you want to make sure that this conversation is 2 ways. So teacher to student and student to teacher. So in kind of variety and kind of mixing that up. If it's constantly teacher, asking for an assignment and then the student, just doing what they do at home, that it gets to be a little bit less, less engaging. So a couple different ways that we're going to talk about engaging. Teacher uploaded videos, which we'll talk about here in a second. Student recording assignments. Feedback, which we have a couple of variety of ways to do that. Student voice messages, adding rubrics for writing and journal, and then student suggested videos. So we'll kind of walk through several different ideas on how to get the students to be a part of all this. So first of all, I'm not sure how many of you have made videos for your students. We've had a couple and there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can make YouTube videos, you can put them in Google Drive, Dropbox. make a video and put it up there for the students to get. One thing about YouTube, you have a lot of people who ask about YouTube, is that, insecure, or is it out there for everyone? There's 3 different ways you can make a YouTube video. I'm not sure, just to kind of throw that out there. You can make a public video, which anybody can search for and find. You can make an unlisted video, which only people that get the link can find that. And then you can make a private video where only people with a password can get it. So there's different ways to make a YouTube video that is a little bit more secure. Of course, Google Drive and Dropbox are all just through the links that you would send them. For EEI, all of these videos, if you make a video and put them on there, you can actually share these within EEI, which again keeps the students all in one place when they come to work with the things that you're asking them to do. So kind of a fun way to do this. We're back in the resources section. So in here, for example, I made this video specific for the trombones and the euphoniums. And so I shared this and I created this, and here's what they're going to get. And I'm going to come in here and get there. It's all set for the trombone, baritone, bass clef, and treble clef. And I've sent that out to them. And this is just a video that just for the week for them to do. And so they're right in EEI and they hear this. Hey, trombones and euphoniums. Well, today I'm going to give you a song. I'm going to play it on my mouthpiece. I'm not going to tell you what it is, although some of you might know what it is. You need to look it up and try and find what the name of the song is. Also, after I'm done playing it, you're going to back the video up and you're going to play along with me on the mouthpiece so you match my pitch. All right? So here we go. Do my pitch. I did pretty good. So you see if you can figure out the name of that song and see if you can figure out the famous piece that it is actually associated with later. So check that out. Don't forget to back the video up and play along with me and match my pitch on the mouthpiece. All right. Hope you're having a good day. So you get the idea. It's just a way to kind of make a video, and there's a lot of different things you can do in that. You can put yourself into that, and you can things that you want them to do when they go home. We've had a lot of different people use EEI in different ways. I had one teacher who had a specific clarinet exercise that she wanted, and she basically went in and the video was just her hands on the clarinet, and she just said, play along. They had the music. It was something that she had written, a little exercise she had written. She's like, play along and make your hands look like my hands. And all the kids did was look at her hands and do that video. It was just like a upper, like a throat tone exercise with her left hand. She was really focusing on that. I had another teacher who came to us at a convention and said, hey, I really appreciate EEI. My kids are actually having class right now in EEI. I just recorded myself as a class. And now that I'm here at this convention, they're just back watching me and just doing a regular class. So there's a lot of different ways you can use those videos in there. And again, like I said, that was specific for the trombone euphoniums, and I sent that to them, and with just one click, they got all of that. They got that video with them. So different ways to do online videos. You can do weekly updates, follow along class, like I said, flip the class, watch before they come in, make up lessons. And that TMEA, that was the story I just told with that guy wanting to come in and being able to have class, even though he was at the Texas Music Educators Convention. So, yeah, so these are different ways you can kind of put yourself in there and just making quick videos. And I wouldn't, again, start simple. I wouldn't try to make a video for every single instrument every week or multiple, videos every week, but if you make, one a week for each instrument or one every other week, just something to kind of get in there, or one for larger groups, just anywhere where they can kind of have, something to kind of see you. And you don't necessarily have to do the video thing. We saw this a lot with my kid, and his teachers would make these videos for them to play along with. So you may have done something like that. But again, with the resources section, you can upload those things that you make yourself. I want to also point out, even though you can upload your own things, we actually have a ton of resources that we've actually preloaded that we've made for you in EEI. First of all, there's a ton of reproducible PDFs. We have an entire music theory curriculum that's in there that goes through basically every concept you would need, especially for the beginner year for book one. Note naming curriculum, rhythm counting curriculum, instrument specific exercises, lots of additional music. So for example, here's the music theory curriculum. We've pulled from other music theory sources from different Hal Leonard publications. So these are all just really great introduction to music theory type of things. We have a whole note naming curriculum that really focuses on getting kids to read the music. You can kind of see how it's created. You got simple, basic for note worksheet number 1 for all clefs, even alto clef for the string players, for the viola players. Then we work on notes below the staff, notes above the staff, then we get into some key signatures and things of that nature. So these are all PDFs that kids can write on, and you can share them with them through the website, or if you're in class and you're working, you can print these out and they can be like time note naming sheets. When I taught, we had a version of this where the kids they tried to do it as fast as they could. And if they got done under a certain amount of time, they got bonus points for finishing early if they got them all correct. But as soon as they missed a note, they lost all their bonus points. They're just little competitive games like that. Some things that you can do with that. Rhythm studies, we have a whole rhythm curriculum, 15 rhythm sheets that go through a lot of different rhythmic concepts. We'll introduce it as a basic type of thing, and then we'll go back in and throw other rhythms around that. These are great. If you're in class, these are great to print two-sided. And so, like, for example, you have that rhythm studies number 11, intro to dotted quarter notes. Print the same number 11 both sides and have the kids write the rhythms in, some kind of writing system that you might have, write the rhythms in on one side and leave the other side blank. That way they can see the rhythm written in, kind of understand the concept, but then when they're actually counting it, they don't have the rhythms written in, because if they're counting it while the rhythms are written in, they're going to obviously just count what they wrote down, as opposed to just actually reading the rhythms and counting out loud. So there's a whole rhythm curriculum that's in there. Instrument fundamentals for band and for strings. We have this in here, kind of walk through some of these. This is, for example, this is a brass startup sheet for the trumpets. So these are all instrument specific startups for the band. Every instrument has this. For the brass, you'll see there's 6 different sheets there. It goes through just mouthpiece sounds, working around the mouthpiece, first sounds, long tones, changing notes, and then articulation. For the band instruments, these startup sheets that are in EEI are all the concepts that they need to play all the music on page 4 and 5 of the Essential Elements books. So if you go through these one sheet at a time, and again, they're instrument specific, all the comments in there are specific for each instrument. When they get to the book and actually play the music from the book, they'll have worked on every concept individually, and they should be more prepared to play music out of the book. Strings exercises, we have some bowing studies that are in there that the authors have added. The authors have gone around the country and they've found a lot of teachers have said, hey, we have a couple of places where the book goes pretty quickly. The authors have come back and added some supplemental exercises correlated to those parts of the book that allow them to kind of fill in some of the gaps. So we're constantly adding music like this to EEI and adding things for teachers and for the students. We also have the pedagogy videos, and these are done in chapters, and they're all online so that students can use these. Let's see if we can get this. I think it'll go.
To be sure the slide is locked.
Turn that down. So these videos are chapters, and they're all online, so students can get to these. They can get to these exercises on their devices, and they can watch them in chapter formation. So really kind of a lot of extra resources that we've provided for you in EEI. So let's hop back over to the music studio. So you got your own resources you can add. You've got the EEI resources you can use as well. And in the music studio, there's a couple of different things that we have added. First of all, you can record music from Essential Elements in there and record with the background tracks. And if you want kids to submit recordings for exercise 34 or exercise 76, whatever you want, that'll come to you from EE. But we also have a place called the All Music Studio. And this is a chance for kids to record anything. And it functions very much the same as the regular music studio with the EE exercises, only it is going to free it up and let them kind of do whatever. So when they get in there and they're in the All Music Studio, they can record just a blank background track. They can add a metronome to it, but they just simply hit the record button and they're in and recording. And then they just title it, say it's a piece that you might be performing in class. or if you want them to play a certain scale, they can record any of these things and do multiple takes. They can make up a song, which is also a great way to engage if kids can, like, you know, find creativity and kind of make up some music as well, or a fundamental warm-up that you have. They save it in their saved recordings, and they can easily just submit that and send that to you. And that comes to you, the teacher, right in your site, and you can grade that. So they can record EE music, but they can record any music. So this really, you know, we have, a lot of times people think of Essential Elements as a book 1, as a beginner type of thing, but book 2 and book 3 are both really, you know, great books as well. And if you're into that high school, middle school, high school type of stuff, you actually have a whole organized recording system here that you can use for your students to send you assignments. It's not just tied to the book. And speaking of organization, we really have done a lot to try and keep those recordings, when they come to you, keep them in a very organized manner, so that you can
Quickly access, organize,
kind of see what's happening. So, for example, when you get in there, it's color coded. So you have ungraded is those gold ones with the notes. Graded, you know you've taken care of it, you've approved it. Or if you want a kid to redo that, we've organized this for you. You can quickly access different parts of this. You know, if you want to look at just that one song by Jeff Anderson, the music is right there. If it's an EE piece of music, you can type comments and grade it, and that goes right back to them. Again, all of this is happening through the website, through the app, and it's all instant. So when they send these recordings in, you can get back to them very quickly. If you want to see every recording a student did, you just click on their name, and there's every recording they did. If you want to go see an exercise, so here's exercise 10. Here's everybody who submitted exercise 10. You just get down there and you just listen to them one at a time and just kind of go right down the list. We've really tried to make this very easy for you to get to these recordings. You can even sort things. So if you want to just see the beginning group, or if you want to get in there and organize it by instrument, you can put it in score order. And you know, there's just a lot of different ways that you can use this. If they send in all music, there's a place for you to kind of see things that they've sent in. And again, those sorting items, all the way that all that sorts and filters happens there as well. And then here's the real, you know, I don't know, the secret sauce. That's a weird way to say it. But if you make assignments, they're going to come in here and be organized for you to look at and to see who's turned them in and who hasn't. And then you can also just click on that show ungraded button and get in there and just see all of the different pieces that you have not listened to. So you make sure you're not leaving anything out that somebody has submitted. So this is meant to be one of the easiest, kind of most powerful ways to listen to kids. You can also export those grades so that you can import them into a gradebook program, for example. So you'll get an Excel sheet or a spreadsheet that's going to have all of the grades in there. So we've really tried to keep these recordings that are coming in from students organized so that you can get to them in a variety of ways. We did add a new feature as well this last spring, especially with teachers having to not see their kids live as much. So if you again find yourself in that, but this also, not only just because of the situation, but we have a lot of teachers that have preferred this, but we have allowed for teachers to provide audio feedback and actually talk their feedback to the students. And I'm gonna give you an example of this. This is a teacher that's used this, Terry Little. She's a teacher up in Wisconsin. But the student put in the recording, and here is the teacher responding to this recording live.
Hi, Kyle. You're off to a good start with this song. Most of your notes are correct. You're going to want to check the first note and the third measure. You're reading that note as a G, and it's actually an A, and it happens a few more times in the song. You're going to need to work on the rhythm a little bit. Go back and listen to the song and maybe count and clap. Okay? The learning target for this piece of music is I can perform an accent. So
you can see that, like, with that audio comment, there's a couple of different things you can do. First of all, a kid hearing your voice is so much more powerful than just seeing something typed out. So you hear her positivity in that. You hear her encouragement, which again, when students go home and they're kind of by themselves working, they're going to need that encouragement. So that's just a really powerful tool to do that. You can give verbal comments. You could actually, you saw the two recordings there. You could play the student recording and pause it and then talk about what you heard, and then play some more and pause it and talk about what you heard. You can model for the students if you want to play an example and then, you know, talk about what you want them to do, give them genuine praise. There's so many ways you can use this. And we've had teachers say that this has been just a huge help to them during this time. So we added that But again, students need to hear your voice. And so when we're doing this type of online type of thing, the more you can put yourself into it, the more you can add your voice, add your video, add yourself into it, the more connection you're going to have. So a student hearing you give them those verbal comments is going to go much further than just reading, reading the type that they do in those comments. So we've added that feature as well. So there we go. We also have self-assessment. I kind of jumped ahead of there. I know self-assessment is something that a lot of schools are asking for teachers to do, but just truthfully, it's one of the best things that a kid can do is truly, assess themselves and let you know where they are in, as far as what they're hearing and what they're thinking. So if you look here, this is actually a way for students to type comments about what they played. When they submit an assignment to you, this self-assessment will come with that assignment. And you can create this self-assessment. So this can be based on what you want the students to do. So there's just a chance for them to write comments. But now here is a self-assessment where you can create the checkboxes. You can create the rating system or the topics, all of this. There's a way for you to create these rubrics for self-assessment. So when a student sends in an assignment, this student is saying, I did good posture, I did good instrument position, good hand position. They rated their tone quality, they rated the rhythm, notes and pitch. This is a chance for them to tell you what they think about their playing. So this is something that's also in there in EEI. I should mention, one of the nice things about EEI is that because it comes with the book, because it is, for lack of a better term, free with the purchase of the book, you can use as much or as little of this as you want. So like I said, start small. You may not want to do the audio feedback. You may want to dive into self-assessment. You may not want to do self-assessment. There's a lot of different things you can use in this, and you can try different things and figure out what works best for you. But this, we talk about this being a two-way street. This is a great way for students to send information back to you. Now, the other thing you can do is you can kind of go beyond the music. So, we've talked about a recording assignment, a kid sending an assignment to you and basically for a playing grade and things of that nature. But if you find yourself again in that situation where you're not connecting to your students, when we taught and when I teach and when you teach, you have that genuine connection with the kids. You can ask them how their day went. The kids come in there and they say, hey, Mr. Smith, this happened, and they're excited to do that. When we get to this online learning, sometimes we miss that. We don't have that connection. So there's different things you can do. You could even just have an assignment in here that's just called the best part of your day. There's different ways that you could do this. Kids could send in a recording assignment from the All Music Studio where they just talk to you. They just tell you what the best part of their day was. It's not even necessarily a grade. It's just a way to connect with them. There's another one up there I have that's describe a recording. So you send out a link to a video. For example, there's a video of the Sheikh Kana Mason playing Nimrod. It's beautiful. It's one of my favorite. Nimrod's just one of my favorite things anyway. But sent this out for them to watch the video, and then I asked them to make a recording to talk about what they listened to. So go beyond, you want to get them to have that genuine love for music, get them to listen to music, get them to do some things other than just playing. Share that music. You might have a discussion in class if you were live, but if you're not live, you can still have that discussion. You can also use that rubric that you created. You could have them have a writing about this too. So for example, this is the writing rubric that goes with that. So they could listen to a piece of music and then come back in and write who composed it, what's your favorite aspect, and the kid could actually write some things about this piece of music. So there's a lot of different things you can do that's beyond just doing the playing tests and doing things of that nature. So, those are different things that you can kind of work on and use through that. I'd like to throw a couple things in there too. If you end up having Zoom calls and things like that, there's a couple fun things that I had some friends of mine who told me that they did. I don't know if you've ever done scavenger hunts. My kid actually did a scavenger hunt on these Zoom calls. This has nothing to do with EEI, by the way. This is just kind of a fun, random thing. But it's scavenger hunts. Go find a piece of fruit, and the kids all run, and the first person back has a piece of fruit. My favorite was go find a relative. All of a sudden, I'm being dragged into the Zoom call, and there's the whole family's out there. But Zoom music bingo, there's different musical things that you can see or sayings. I don't know if you've had that, but teacher sayings. Every time Mr. Smith says such and such, serenade a family member. You can have bring a family member in and have a couple people in the class actually play music for the family member. And bums and brags. It's just a way to kind of see how kids are doing. Bums, like what went bad today, brags were good things. But give them a different reason for coming to those Zoom calls, not just to sit there and play, but, to engage and do that. So, you might have some different ideas on that as well. Student suggested videos. Here's another great way. So you could give them an assignment like, hey, go find your favorite video of your instrument. If you're a flute player, go find your best flute player video and send that to me. And then you could share that through the EEI resources, through the EEI resources. So for example, here is Amy S. I just made up a student. And this is her favorite flute video that she found. And personally, it's mine, Susan Milan, amazing flute player. But this is... So, you do want to share music with your students and share videos like this. But if you bring the students into that and you ask them to find the video, and then you're not sharing a video that you think is number one, you're sharing, Amy S's video. It gives them that, real, that, I don't know, that kind of buy-in to what they're doing. You can also, have a weekly thing where you add a bit of yourself into this. Bring them into your world a little bit. And I'm going to show you this. I just made a video that's just a kind of a regular video that they can kind of see. Just to kind of show you, like this is the teacher dashboard. And this is a way for you to kind of just get in there and you go to the resources section. And I should point out, by the way, there's calendar items and things up there as well that you can do. But I just made a video. This is my Monday morning greeting. And it's almost has nothing to do with music. There you see my trombone video, but this is the Monday morning greeting. And I just did this so that the kids can all, hear my voice at the beginning of the week. Hey, everyone. I hope you're having a great day. I just wanted to say hi and check in and see how you're doing. And today we have a special guest. Owen, come here. Owen wanted to say hi. Say hi to the kiddos. Can I get a kiss? No. Well, Owen really wants you guys to have a really good day. So he's saying hi. Oh, Owen, do you miss the kitties? You're like, I don't even know. Oh, there it is. All right. Well, Owen's hoping you have a great day, and I do as well. So check for your assignments, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye. Bye. So curious, any of you dog or cat people out there can't really answer that out here out loud, but just something to kind of put yourself out there and let them kind of see you, just kind of get that genuine connection. So I hope you can see, like, there's just a lot of different things you can do in EEI beyond just the method book, beyond just, the classroom type stuff, beyond recording exercises and things of that nature. There's so many things you can do. And again, it is available for all of the books. So we're not just talking about beginners here, band and strings, book 1, 2, and 3. So there's just a lot of different ways you can use EEI. And again, to remind you, the blog is a great resource, and it's something that you can kind of get in there and kind of use from time to time. And I'm gonna share a couple of lesson plans, by the way, for EEI that I'll send Nick some PDFs that'll be links to those type of things, and some links to the blogs, as well as some other of those. We have rubrics. There's a lot of different things I'm going to send you. So you'll have some other handouts that you could use from this. But that's really the crash course on how to kind of use EEI here. And I have a couple other things that I guess we'll talk about, but we'll turn it back over to Nick here.
Yeah, Steve, that was great. Thank you so much. I have to admit, of course, I don't come from an educator's perspective. I'm very aware of the EEI method. I mean, a lot of the schools that I visit use it. But I'm just amazed at how holistic. I mean, you guys are really trying to create this universe where everything can kind of live. I see a lot of conversations online about, hey, I need something that will do this particular activity or that particular activity. And you guys have really brought it into this ecosystem that is the EEI method. Yeah,
and because there's more to playing music than just the music from the book. There's and the other part about that is that everybody's got a different situation. So where the EE book itself, the pedagogy, the band and the strings part is very solid, but the teacher is really the driving force behind all of it. So we try to have EEI give the teacher a chance to show themselves, to invest themselves into their students through the website, and just to give them a chance to do more than just the music from the book. So that's kind of the goal behind the whole website.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Now, we've just got about 10 more minutes, and we've spent a lot of time talking about EEI and what a great resource it is. But before we hopped on, you were sharing just a few other little resources that you felt like it would be helpful for educators to know. You just want to point a couple of those out before we sign off for the night?
Yeah, absolutely. And I should also, there's a couple questions I was just going to throw out there that we had some talks about some class set type of things. I know there's some class set type things out there. We do have a way to help you with that. If you'll just send an email to eei@halleonard.com, we can walk you through that. We do realize there's some kids that just can't afford books. And so we don't want to exclude those students, but we want to work with you. But so if you'll just send an email to EEI@HalLeonard, we're happy to help you in those situations. So just to kind of let you know, but the best way, of course, is if they have their own book and they can get in there. That's the easiest way. But we know there's different situations. But yeah, so a couple of different things. I mean, I know that John Melinzak was on here last week and talked about NoteFlight. And NoteFlight is a great tool, especially when you start talking about creativity and getting kids in there. And I say this as when I was growing up in 6th grade, I actually used to write music all the time. I entered those music writing contests, the PTA type of things. I had fun with that. I had a group of kids, percussionists, that actually wrote some mallet stuff. That they did a mallet piece. Actually, I remember it's called Journey of the Banana, kind of random title. It's a perfect middle school title for a percussion piece. But back then we didn't have a way to really get kids in there. NoteFlight is just a great tool for people to kind of get in there and start practicing with composition and just trying new things. And when they start writing music, they're going to be more literate on it as well. So really encourage you to check out NoteFlight. The other thing I wanted to kind of mention, I'm going to share my screen again here, is I know that, when you're working with kids, that just playing method book stuff is good and it's fun. And I encourage you, book 2 and 3 are really great too, especially if you end up finding yourself where you're doing the online thing. It might be a good time to really focus on the individual fundamentals. You're used to playing full concert band or full strings, string orchestra music when you're in those older grade levels. But if you end up being in that online teaching, it might be a good time to focus on the individuals, and those method books 2 and 3 could be really helpful to that. But I wanted to kind of also mention, this is my son, by the way, and he actually wanted to learn Viva La Vida because there was that violin duet. I don't know if you saw those 2 Italian kids that started playing Viva La Vida. So I got him some music on that, and I got him working on those type of things. But don't forget to experiment with those type of things and get kids into other types of music. And I want to kind of get here to this page because we've got some really great materials at Hal Leonard. Here we are. So don't forget, there's several different books. We have a whole play along series, and especially if you start doing this and you're just working remotely, they're going to want to play other kinds of music. And I know when I taught, and I've seen some teachers that really, they try to get this kind of music to their students. This is the best way to do it, to really, find these. We have easy instrumental play along, pop favorites, Disney favorites, classic rock, all those type of things. There's a huge wealth of that material out there. And that can be a great thing to encourage your kids to use those type of books. They're well written, they're great for the instruments, and it's a chance to get them those melodies and those fun things that they really enjoy doing. So those are just a couple of things that I've kind of noticed that might be really helpful, especially during these times, trying to get kids to kind of play some fun music and enjoy what they're doing, and that's a great way to do it.
Yeah, those are the tunes working in a retail environment. Those are the tunes that we hear all day from our practice rooms coming in, the kids coming in, and we love it, of course. But yeah, I think you're right. The kids really engage with that music because we see them here at AMRO coming in, particularly now in the summer. Parents are trying to keep them playing, and those are the books that the kids gravitate, the Star Wars and the Frozen and things like that.
Yeah.
So that's great. So I got two more questions I want to ask you, Steve.
Sure.
I think you have a really unique perspective right now in that you've been it from the perspective of an educator, of a musician, and now as a band parent and an orchestra parent, which I think is really cool. So knowing what you know from the many hats that you've worn, what did you learn or notice from watching your son this spring as he transitioned to online learning?
Yeah. First of all, I was super impressed with his teachers and how they transitioned to that. It was almost seamless. I was very impressed with that. My son, I should just give you a background on my son. He is pretty technology, savvy. He is very excited to do all that type of stuff. And we were both parents, we were at home, and he was doing this. The interesting part is that there was quite a bit of tech support on my end involved in helping my kid kind of get through this. So be aware of that. And when they're at home, they're gonna have the ability to kind of learn and do all that. But there might be a couple roadblocks in there. So always reach out to the parents and really check in, I would say, with the parents, and just make sure that everything's going well, and kind of help with that. Because even my son, who was really good at that, he had a couple of roadblocks, and I know some of the other kids probably even had more stumbling blocks. So reach out to the parents, try to help them with that. And again, I would also, the music that they're playing is so important. And they want to be engaged in the right kinds of music. But then the biggest thing is that when they do get those Zoom calls, because those are important, get everybody together. And I know you can't necessarily play all together, but my son just loves seeing his friends. That was the biggest thing that he missed, is just seeing his friends. And when orchestra is the one thing that almost brought that back together, especially now that he's going into middle school. When he was in elementary school, he had his homeroom class where he could see that. But in orchestra, he's going to see those kids again. And that's a really huge thing, is to be able to connect with them. So just that connection is so important. And then music has a different way to do that. So you have a better avenue. I don't want to say better. I shouldn't say that. You have a great avenue to connect with students through your music class. So the music does that, but also just being able to connect with their friends really helps that as well.
Yeah, such a good perspective. That's great. So as we're wrapping up here, Steve, I always like to ask this question as we conclude our conversations. What closing thoughts or advice do you have as we look ahead to the fall semester?
I would say don't underestimate how important you are. And I said it to kind of start this, but you are all needed. And just as teachers and as humans and as guidance for the people coming back to this, these kids are coming back, and you may be starting live and be in person, but they've been gone for a while. So this is a little bit of a traumatic thing for some of these kids, and they're going to be excited to see you. But just, give them grace, give them and have patience, and be that positivity that they need, because you don't have to look hard at all to find negative stuff right now. But music and you guys as teachers and just getting back together again, it's going to be a great thing. I know there's a lot of unknowns. I know there's a lot of things that we're not sure what's going to happen. We have that in my family, we have that at our company. But the truth is, I think we're going to come through this. I think we're going to be better for this. It's tough to say that, but I tend to be a positive person. And I think you guys are going to be the people that lead us through this. I truly believe that the teachers are going to be the ones that get our families through this. You're so important. And I don't mean that to put the burden on you. I just mean that because I believe in you. And I know that you're going to be amazing. And just know that you have so many more people on your side than you may realize. And just trust that you're doing the right thing, and just enjoy getting to teach again, because I know that that's your passion. So that would be what I would have to say.
That's great, Steve. Thank you so much. Listen, I really appreciate a few moments of your time just sharing all of this expertise. I know there's so much uncertainty, but having an expert like yourself come on here and share their insights on how we can use this resource that's available to us to prepare for the upcoming fall and to get through the upcoming semester, I think is great. So thank you so much. So just a quick reminder for anybody that's interested, tomorrow we've got another conversation lined up. We're going to be talking all about marching band. And then next Tuesday, we can't look too far ahead, but we've got Bob Morrison coming and joining us. You might know Bob. He has spoken for the Conn-Selmer Institute this summer. He has been all over the place helping schools get ready to return to the classroom or to online learning this fall. And Bob's going to be talking about how we would stay relentlessly positive while also acknowledging the realities of what's going on around us. So it should be a great conversation next Tuesday as well with Bob Morrison. So on that note, Steve, thank you. Kevin, thank you. Our friends at Hal Leonard. Everyone, thanks for joining us. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we'll see you for our upcoming after hours conversations for music educators. Good night, everyone.